The first topic of conversation here on tonight's show, and it goes to Alabama's athletic director, one Greg Byrne, who was on a Zoom call with media personnel on Thursday discussing the state of Alabama football. Where is the Crimson Tide in relation to this season, where football is concerned, but also other fall sports as well. And, Byrne kind of echoing sort of the same sentiments that Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, made. Byrne was very complimentary of Sankey's decision to be slow in this approach, be methodical in this approach, be strong in this approach, be thorough, understanding that this is a very delicate situation. It's a sensitive situation, kind of a slippery slope ordeal, but Sankey has handled this as well as anybody, not only in college football, but in sports, period, just trying to make sure you're presenting the environment for players to not only have a chance to play, but be safe, most importantly, as they're doing that. So Byrne moving with football operations in terms of Alabama, echoing the sentiments coming from one Commissioner Greg Sankey of the SEC. But as we get into kind of sort of the high points, some of the highlight things that Byrne mentioned in the Zoom call on Thursday, first and foremost, he did talk about Alabama is focused on having football in the fall. That's the focus. The focus is on football in the fall along with other fall sports. They're taking things slow, that methodical approach, that thorough approach, not leaving any stone left unturned, checking with the medical advisory group of the SEC. So the Crimson Tide, the focus is having football in the fall. Yes, Greg Byrne has spoken with other presidents and athletic directors, in the Big Ten and in the Pac-12, and he has gotten some information on why they chose the route that they chose in canceling their respective football seasons. But Byrne has stated that just because they did what they did and they have their own information from their own medical group, we're going to move forward with what we have at Alabama. The information we've gathered, the data we've gathered, the knowledge we have accumulated, we're moving forward here with football. So the first high point was Tide is focused on having a football season in the fall. But number 2 point was the capacity of Bryant-Denny Stadium. Stadium capacity will be significantly reduced this season. We all kind of figured that was going to happen just due to you're not going to have fans risk their health for traveling into Bryant-Denny, especially for fans that may have compromised immune systems and have different health situations. So we had an idea that with the stadium having those significantly reduced numbers, the reason for that is you're not going to have every fan inside Bryant-Denny. Another thing that Byrne mentioned was Alabama will unveil its ticket plan. It will unveil the ticket plan upon the SEC schedule being released. When the dates and the times are put with the schedule, Alabama will unveil its ticket plan. Now, it did refund student tickets recently here. So when the schedule is officially out, when we have the dates and the times to go with the games that are being played in this 10-game conference-only schedule, Alabama will unveil the ticket plan. The next thing here was aggressive testing and contact tracing has been done for all students and student athletes. What this means is for the SEC Medical Advisory Group that gave Greg Sankey the green light to move forward with football operations, the same group has had all 14 universities, all 14 programs within the conference do aggressive testing. And that's what goes back to what Mac Jones mentioned. Alabama has been testing the student athletes 3 times a week. They've gone in, they've got that testing done to make sure they're staying ahead of the numbers, they're staying ahead of the curve, they're able to manage what's going on in terms of the campus. Not only are they testing student athletes, but the students have been tested as well. And you're starting to see more students return to campus. By next week, we will get the remainder of students back into the University of Alabama, and they have been aggressively tested as well. Byrne mentioned that since June the 8th, and that was the day that all the student athletes were initially let back on campus, especially for football, for the in-person voluntary workout. Since June the 8th, the number of positive tests have gone down dramatically. So Alabama has gotten a handle on managing the coronavirus, the symptoms, and things of that nature. So the aggressive testing. Now, when you look at the contact tracing, what the contact tracing does is if a student or a student athlete contracts the coronavirus, they're able to go back into the data. They're able to look at the contact tracing numbers, and from those numbers and from the information that's being provided in the tracing, then they can move forward from there on how to attack the situation. So the aggressive testing being done, contact tracing being done for students and student athletes. Also, the big news here, no one on the University of Alabama campus has contracted myocarditis. And that's been the scare term that's been thrown around the campus here for the last couple of days. Myocarditis, watch myocarditis, keep an eye on myocarditis. And according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary here, myocarditis is an inflammatory, it's inflammation of the middle layer of the heart, inflammation to the middle layer of the heart, and it's a viral infection. So that's what myocarditis is, inflammation to the middle layer of the heart. It's a viral infection. However, no one's contracted it, no one's come in contact with it, and that's good news there coming from Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne here. Another piece of big news also that Byrne mentioned was athletes who choose to opt out, athletes who choose to not play in the 2020 football season will not lose their scholarship. And that's huge because he talked about this was something urgent. This was a legitimate pressing need. This was something that we made a priority. We had to specify this. We had to make sure that the athletes knew we have their back in terms of the realm of sports. And Greg Byrne talked about any student athlete that chose to opt out, any student athlete that chose to not play, this season, we will not be taking their scholarship from them. So that's major there for the Crimson Tide, not having those athletes be without scholarships if they choose to opt out and not play in the upcoming season. But just getting back to something that Najee Harris mentioned, that term opting out is not on his mind. The idea of opting out is not on any of these players' minds in terms of the upcoming season for Alabama. These guys came back with the opportunity to play for a conference championship, play for the college football playoff, and play for an opportunity to win a national title. So the team morale has been good. The team has been focused. The team has been locked in. I understand this is not the most pleasant of circumstances. This is not the most happiest of circumstances, but you have to live with sometimes the cards that are being dealt out to you. So Alabama is trying to take this coronavirus pandemic and turn it into something of a positive note and trying to win a national championship, be together, be one team, one mindset, one focus from athletic director Greg Byrne to the coaching staff, to the players, to everybody that's involved with this. And I have to commend the University of Alabama on the job that it's done, and Greg Byrne on the job he has done. So just running back over the high points that Byrne mentioned here in the Zoom call. Alabama is focused on having a football season. That was the main thing. Number two, the stadium capacity inside Bryant-Denny will be significantly reduced. We kind of already had an idea that was going to happen. And upon the SEC schedule being released, Alabama will dive into the unveiling of its ticket plan. Next on the list was the aggressive testing and the contact tracing that has been done for all student athletes and students in general. Since June the 8th, the number of positive tests have gone down dramatically, have gone down significantly. Alabama and the SEC Medical Advisory Group doing a great job there. Nobody at Alabama, nobody on the campus has contracted who has come in contact with myocarditis, that is the inflammation of the middle wall layer of the heart. Nobody has contracted that in Alabama. And then last but not least, of course, athletes who choose to opt out will not lose their scholarship. And starting next Monday, despite everything that's happened, starting Monday of next week, Alabama will have fall camp. First day of fall camp for the Crimson Tide will begin Monday of next week. So Nick Saban happy to get back out here on the field to do his thing. We're going to take our first break here on the show, but don't touch that down, ladies and gentlemen. Just getting started here. Upon our return, we get into your thoughts, your tweets, your texts, your calls, your concerns. Shout out to my man, Senator Hines, for bringing in that fresh $19.99 donated into the super chats there. Shouts out to Senator doing his thing there. But upon our return, your phone calls, your tweets, your chats, your concerns after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $5.95 per month or pay $49.95 for a full year subscription. That's a saving of almost $22. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.